Nikki Haley doubles down on why she's running for president. Good evening from the nation's capital. I'm Jenna Browder. With the South Carolina primary just days away, Haley says she is staying in the race for the Republican nomination. In a speech today, she promised to keep fighting until the American people close the door. Her announcement coming as former President Trump remains the clear frontrunner despite his ongoing legal battles. Washington correspondent Caitlin Burke joins us now with the latest on the 2024 race for the White House. Caitlin?
Jenna, Nikki Haley says she's not going anywhere, at least not until after Super Tuesday. With another 20 states set to vote between now and then, the Republican presidential candidate says she's in no hurry to hand the nomination over to Donald Trump.
Some of you, perhaps a few of you in the media, came here today to see if I'm dropping out of the race. Well, I'm not. People have a right to have their voices heard. And they deserve a real choice, not a Soviet-style election where there's only one candidate and he gets 99% of the vote.
Despite trailing Trump by more than 20% in her home state, Haley says she's playing the long game.
I've always been David, taking on Goliath. And like David, I'm not just fighting someone bigger than me. I'm fighting for something bigger than myself.
Adding that her focus is on how to make America stronger, Haley is pledging that no matter what happens on Saturday, she will still be running for president on Sunday.
I'll keep fighting until the American people close the door. That day is not today, and it won't be on Saturday, not by a long shot. The presidential primaries have barely begun. Just 3 states have voted.
Trump, meanwhile, spent the weekend campaigning in the battleground states of Pennsylvania and Michigan. In brushing off his latest legal defeat in a New York civil case that resulted in a $355 million fine, Trump vowed big changes if he wins in November.
When we win back the White House, we will have no higher priority than ending the weaponization of this horrible legal system that has developed around us. It's a horrible, horrible thing that's taking place. You talk about democracy. This is a real threat to democracy.
A new campaign finance report reveals Trump's legal fees cost his political fundraising committee more than $50 million in 2023. And according to Politico, the former president's campaign also spent more money than they brought in last year. Meanwhile, President Biden is bringing in a record haul, raising more than $42 million in January, even amid concern about his age. In a statement, Biden's campaign manager says, quote, while Team Biden-Harris continues to build on its fundraising machine, Republicans are divided, either spending money fighting Donald Trump or spending money in support of Donald Trump's extreme and losing agenda. Jenna?
All right, Caitlin, thank you. Nathan Gonzalez is the editor and publisher of Inside Elections and a Faith Nation contributor, and he joins us now. Nathan, welcome. So let's start right there with campaign fundraising. The Biden campaign, as Caitlin mentioned, raked in $42 million in January. This, amid several bad news cycles for the president, including the Her report and a waterfall of headlines about his age and fitness for office. What do you make of this record haul, Nathan?
Well, this shows that there is some support for President Biden, that even though he's struggling in the polls, there's concerns about his age, there are people that want him to have a second term. They're willing to give money for that second term. Another notable piece of it is that a chunk of those donations were donations less than $200, which means that the campaign can go back to those donors and try to get more money over the course of the next 9 months. And Caitlin brought up a good point that it's not just that Biden is raising good money, but that Trump is raising money but spending it on legal fees rather than campaigning. I mean, the key is not just who can raise the most money, but who can most effectively use that money to motivate and persuade voters to come out to the polls.
Yeah, Nathan, for former President Trump, how big of a financial issue are these legal battles? Will they come to bear on the campaign, or could they actually have the opposite effect where people see him as a martyr and they start to donate?
Well, it's possible. I mean, the legal issues have helped him in the primary with Republicans. It's helped galvanize his support. I think that's a different calculation in the general election, where independent voters who don't think Biden's doing a great job, but they're concerned about the circus that always seems to surround the president, concerned that he'll be tied up with legal issues in the campaign and into his presidency, and they just don't want to deal with that. And fundamentally, again, that money. The money is the key to driving your message and driving your narrative and trying to get voters to focus on the issues that you want them to focus on. And whether and I just don't think Trump he doesn't want. I don't think he should want people to focus on him in the courtroom, because that is ultimately becoming about him and not about what's best for the country and what's best for the people in the country.
Now, you mentioned money driving campaigns. Nikki Haley, she still has a lot of it in her campaign. She says she will not drop out of the race until the American people close the door. Nathan, what do you think that cue is for her? You know, in all of the primaries so far, voters have spoken pretty definitively. South Carolina not expected to be too different.
Right. The money is helping her stay in the race. She can sustain a campaign. She can still put up TV ads. But fundamentally, she is selling an alternative to Trump to an electorate that is not interested in an alternative, that a majority of Republicans are fine moving ahead with Trump in the 2024 election. So by the time she's making the case that only a few states have voted so far, which is true, but by the time we get through Super Tuesday, we'll be close to halfway done. And I think it will be even more clear that there is not an appetite with the Republican primary voters, one other than former President Trump.
Yeah. Nathan, just about 30 seconds left, but today Senator Joe Manchin said he would not endorse Joe Biden for re-election. Just a final thought on that.
It's kind of weird because he said that he doesn't want to help Trump get another term. But ultimately, I don't think there are a lot of voters who are sitting around waiting for Joe Manchin to tell them who to vote for. So I think it's a little bit silly on Manchin's part, but I'm not sure it's really going to matter for the election.
Okay, Nathan Gonzalez of Inside Elections, good to see you. Thank you, Nathan.